Hey everybody, today I'm here to talk to you a little bit about how to use Just YA, this free resource for teachers, in your classroom. So one of the goals of this is to have short text, under 20 lines for poems, under 1,000 words for essays and fiction, and so that teachers could use it in their classroom in one class period and use it to teach a ton of different skills, but also just to also give students an opportunity to explore a variety of genres and meet a whole bunch of different authors that they might then seek out their books and read, and as mentor text for writing in a variety of genres, because we want you to try to imitate or mimic some of the writing styles in here so that students can see that there's many ways of writing in school. It doesn't all have to be analytic writing. And these authors do a great job with different form and structure. So it has a lot of wonderful things. So the key thing here is that it is organized by love. Yes, love. Love's in the curriculum. Relationships are in the curriculum. Tensions, war, conflict, questions about identity, questions about our futures, interest in technology and robots and AI and all of that. There's a ton of things in here. So I want to just share a little bit of poetry with you today and see if any of these seem interesting to you that you might want to include in your classroom. So all of these are available on Open OK State. You can just I'm going to put all the links to all the poems below. Again, free for you. You can link them to your students. You can download them, print them, whatever you need to do for your classroom. So I'm going to read a few of the poems today, and maybe you can just kind of sit back and listen, go for your walk, go for your drive, and see if any of these poems connect to anything that you're already doing in your classroom, any curriculum that's already going on, or if you spark ideas for things that you might want to do. So I'm just going to jump in here and read and introduce you to a few of the authors. So the first section is about just being. So these are poems around identity and answering the question about, who am I? How did I become this way? And I think a lot of this is with kids, with youth in particular, is that they're wondering, why am I angry, or why do I fall in love so easy, or why am I embarrassed, or why am I shy, or how do I think this? Why do I think this way? Why am I afraid to trust someone? All these different questions. Where does that come from? And so these poems here are sort of exploring the potential source of formative relationships or formative experiences that made us who we are. And so I'm reading this video for you teachers, so you have to kind of sift through what you think is appropriate for your students. You might, after listening to my poems, think that this is, not my poems, the poems in the book, that this is a great resource for your students to listen to, so they can listen to the poems as they're reading them. So if you think that that's appropriate or a good fit for your classroom, then you can share this video with your students too, and they can listen to these sections. So I'm going to have chapters below for this long introduction that I'm doing, and then also a few of the different poems. Okay, so here's the first poem. This is A Place to Breathe by Christine Hartman Derr. And she is a citizen of the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma. And I recommend that you look at the Cherokee language site and hear some of the language to practice speaking some of the language that's in the poem before you read it aloud to your students or share it with your students or encourage your students to do that. So I reached out to Christine and said I wanted to read the poem. Could you help me pronounce some of the words? And she sent some phonetic spelling, and I've been listening to some. I don't know how I'm going to do with this, but I really am trying. I was practicing, I was listening to a lot. And I think it's really interesting to think that this, who this poem is written for, it probably is not written for me. It's written for people who could speak Cherokee or might recognize these words, but also benefit from seeing the language and from trying the language and trying to recognize how that fits with, or what is the message in the poem for that. So I'm reading them, but I think you should also want to project them. So I'm going to try to take a picture. Wait, which way should I go? This way? This way? And then maybe put the picture here. Okay, here we go. A Place to Breathe by Christine Hartman Derr. Off the path, behind some trees, a clearing sits and waits for me. A forest symphony, a place for finding tohu. Here I can simply be, simply breathe, find a way back to me. Those hateful words, that awful silence, recedes in waves until it's quiet. The clouds drift by, the sun softens, leaves whisper, comforting words, a language maybe I used to know. Wado, de luga, I thank the trees. Next, the grass, the bees. Wado, ganoalaska, gratitude for wind, for breeze. Wado, une lana hi, gratitude in a whisper to Creator, for feeling wrapped in that precious, never-ending ancestor love, for this world, this clearing, this moment. A twig snaps. Two pairs of eyes watch me, watching them. A doe and her fawn hover on the edge of the small clearing. They take me in, weigh my soul, then stay nibbling at a bush. They feel safe. So do I. That's when I know we'll be all right. So much of like the way that it's on the page is really important. So looking at it on the page here or digitally is really important because there's lots of movement here, like a breeze. There's lots of interesting spacing as well here that emphasize the breaths, I think. Wado, wado. And I actually wrote some of the phonetic spelling to help me with my reading of it. And yeah, it's just lovely. Okay, next. Billboard by Glenda Funk. And Glenda taught English and speech communications. She's on the NCT Children's Poetry Award Committee right now, and she's a long time educator and poet, and just wonderful. So here's her poem. Board bill, yawn spilled, nodded off, assignment scoffed. Played games, teacher blamed, watched TikTok, work forgot. Excuses made, graduation delayed, mom sad, dad mad. Second chance, old rant. Moral tale, unholy grail. Seize the day, don't delay. The fun short one. Quick, snappy economy of words with lots of rhythm, and it feels good to kind of say these words as well as I'm looking at this. It's kind of fun. Pitch Black by Stacey Joy, and Stacey is a national board certified teacher in California. She's been teaching for over 38 years, and she is a published poet of various anthologies, including Rhyme and Rhythm, so she's in this one too. Okay, Stacey. Pitch black. In the pitch blackness of our skin is an ocean waving in diamonds, stories written in gold, skies raining in silk. In the ocean is an ocean waving in diamonds, where tsunamis of torture die, skies raining in silk, healing our bones and blood, where tsunamis of torture die, in the pitch blackness of our skin, healing our bones and blood, stories written in gold. I'm sure you've heard the repetition in there. It's a lovely, lovely woven and crafted trio of stanzas here. Beautiful. This is Tracks by Karen Weyant. That's her. She has a full-length collection of poems, several full-length collections of poems, and is widely published. And she's a professor of English in New York, Jamestown, New York. Here's her poem. Trains have not used these tracks for years. Still, I lean down to feel the trembling, but all I feel is frozen steel, cold from melted February snow. Still, I lean down to feel the trembling, like the dance of pennies on shaking rails, cold from melted February snow, waiting for the rumblings of railbox cars. Feel the dance of pennies on shaking rails. I feel something like a shiver, waiting for the rumbling of railroad boxcars. I know the weight of homesickness. I feel something like a shiver from the scratch of winter's edge. I know the weight of homesickness is an ache that makes it hard to breathe. From the scratch of winter's edge, I almost believe that I could bleed from what is an ache that makes it hard to breathe. I pull my coat tight around me. I almost believe that I should bleed from what I feel is frozen steel. I pull my coat tight around me. Trains have not used these tracks for years. This is such a great, I mean, I'm just commenting a little bit here, but just again, beautiful sound here, like internal rhyme and rhythm in here and repetition once again. But I'm feeling this is a strong sense of place too. So you'll notice that some of the poems we have in this sense of being, this is in the being section, there's a land section too. So this could easily be in that section as well. They overlap, but like this is thinking about how who we are, our sense of being is connected to the places that we are, and sometimes even the weather or the land that we're in. With February snow and actually it's 100 degrees in Oklahoma right now, and that sounds pretty good. Some cold weather. And why am I wearing this? Because of the air conditioning. Okay. All right, next poem. This is by Joe Bisicchia. I think that's right. Bisicchia. So this poem is called High School. You know, it's for youth. It's for you. This book is for you. And the first line might sound familiar. To be or not to be somewhat fascinating. I won't always be boorish, sophomoric. I'm going to start over. To be or not to be somewhat fascinating. I won't always be boorish, sophomoric. Soon I'll be a junior and then a senior and carry myself with proper erudite demeanor. Here I am experiencing the ages firsthand. Beyond the books, with geometry circles, it all comes alive. Yes, the ages have long been alive, and I am part of it as if this is the way of all time. So I'm pleased to sit with Lincoln at lunch, his beard while eating pizza, at first a distraction. But then I feel my own cheese sloppily on my own chin. Ah, my own early mozzarella of wisdom. It's fun. Some of these poems are fun. Some of them are situated in like specific places in the school and specific feelings. Some are really serious. Some are more lighthearted. There's a range here. So I think it's helpful to see the serious, the different tones and moods side by side in a collection of poems by different poets from different places, right? Okay, here's another place, North Dakota. Or Joe is from, he didn't say in his bio. I'm not sure where Joe is from. Okay, Samuel Stinson is our next poet, and he is writing about North Dakota. So here's the title of his poem is North Dakota Snow Angels. Take me out there. Take me out when it's 15 below, and we are wearing 5 layers of warm flannel. And outside, show me the northern lights. Point out the North Star. Point to the silent winter stars. That blue sky that darkens so late in summer. That dark sky now, that now beams down that bright curtain light. Take me out there now. Take me out now to the snowbank away from the blowing drifts, to the fresh 3 feet of untouched snow, to the spot where we lie, brushing our arms up and around with white wings. It's lovely. You know, you might have students who are in our southern or east or western coast or warmer climates that may not know this feeling of snow and light and all of these that is in North Dakota, and how that must mean, how that must impact us growing up and our sense of the world from the different places. But I bet your students could even, they're from the South or don't know the snow, they could probably write a pretty great poem about a different way that they enjoy the weather or different interesting sights in their own community and town. Okay, here's one by Stefani Boutelier, and she's a professor in Michigan and one of our ethical ELA poets. And this one might be a little fun for you or might bring back some memories. Okay, here we go. This is called Zit Ode. Zit Ode. Oh, your eruption glistening in the light, illuminating pus in a black head, white head, ring of rosacea, satisfying, disgusting. You visit all, fully inclusive. You are famous, loved, hated, yet assigned, cyst, blister. You help identify bacteria, puberty, food, ill hygiene. We humanize you as you grow, celebrate you even. You've oozed your way into pop media in so many personalities by so many names: pimple, blemish, acne, boil, bump, welt. Oh, the bane of my face's existence. That's fun. Okay, this one is by Darius Phelps, and Darius is a PhD candidate in Teachers College in Columbia, New York. And his poems, you'll see throughout the book, have lots of use of the white space left and right. And so, I'm going to try to put all these pictures up here later. This is called Wounded Healer. I couldn't kill my rage, so I tried to kill the parts of you within me instead. Just because I don't have your last name, I've come to realize we are still one and the same. I know that I possess venom that spills from your bloodline. There is mania inside me, and from it I refuse to flee. Let this pain, this trauma consume me, and part of my soul, like the Red Sea. No matter how much I've fasted and prayed, these demons are here to stay. I am a wounded healer, and I know I will be okay. This next one was by Melissa Heaton. She has been a teacher in Central Utah and a writing project, maybe teacher consultant, active fellow. She's a fellow in the writing project in Utah. And she has been teaching 8th grade in Utah for 24 years. Or teaching 24 years, but is now teaching 8th grade. Okay, so this is Melissa Heaton, and the poem is My Voice. My voice is timid, shrinking from criticism, seeking acceptance, hiding under the covers of imperfection, longing to wake up. There are moments when I come to myself and rise with clear perspective. My slumbering voice comes alive. I'm empowered, uninhibited. My true self stands tall, shaking off dust of doubt, honest, bold, fearless. My words are enough. Letting go, my voice takes flight. Finally, I'm me. Yeah. So as you start reading these, you might start to have some feelings, or some things might resonate with you more than others. So as I was reading that and thinking, you could probably see in my body language and in my voice, this sort of coming alive, this boldness and fearness that maybe doesn't come to us naturally, but finding our voice is part of that way of being, and how that stirs in us. This is Cracking, another poem by Karen Weyant. Every kitchen edge was her tool. The side of the sink, a rim of a mixing bowl, the round lip of a measuring cup. Snapping her wrist, my mother would break an egg with a single flick, pull apart shells so that a stray thumb would never slip into the yolk. Yellow suns like those in my crayon-colored pictures fell into frying pans or mixing bowls. Circles were never punctured, but with every toss of broken shell, her skin grew thinner. Veins bulged, deep fate lines cut into her hands. This is where I learned that a clean break starts with a tiny fracture and then a crack. So again, these poems are making us think about, who we are and how we became who we are, and the lessons that we learn from the people in our lives. This is really lots to think about here. This poem is by Laura Shovan, and she is a award-winning children's book author and middle grade author. The Last Fifth Grade of Emerson Elementary, Takedown, A Place at the Table. Takedown is one of my favorite books to read with students about a girl who got on the wrestling team and really did well. It's a great, great one. So here's Laura's poem called Bridge. Since I picked up a guitar, listening to music's not the same. My brain hears patterns, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, fade. My teacher says the bridge is where a song takes risks, steps onto the road less traveled. Yeah, man, I say, I get it, Robert Frost. He grins, cues up an Ozzy tune, plays lead along with Randy Rhoads, writhing strums, push Ozzy's wails, I don't know. I don't know either, Oz. I'm almost 18, almost done with high school. When people ask what I'm doing next year, I want to scream, I don't know. Here it comes, my guitar teacher says, a bit of bass and then everything slows. Randy Rhoads. Fills the practice room, the bridge, a change in rhythm dynamics, a path to the song's culmination. I don't know what my bridge is. The only song I know goes schoolwork, college work, fade out. This next poem is by Emanuel Xavier, and he has a great book coming out, Lovely Child. This poem is called Stepfather, and it was a little harder for me to read this one the first time. He forgets that he used to call me mariconcito, that I harbored years of hatred toward him while hoping to find my real father. My childhood memories of him reminding me I was my mother's son, not his. I tried to poison him once and scattered sharp nails inside the shoes in his closet. By the time one of his sons died of AIDS, I was already lost in contempt for the man I blamed for everything. There was the time I was in love and he met my boyfriends. Now he forgets to go to the bathroom or where he is. I help him walk slowly outdoors to step outside the prison cell that is the tiny apartment with no windows in which I grew up abused by both of them. He barely understands. His fate has been torture. I know that I cannot be his savior. I used to pray for him to die, but here he is slowly fading. In his eyes, I see that he learned to love me and wishes he could take it all back. He is unable to recall those drunken nights and hateful words. I should do the same. I left a long time ago, but he still remains haunted by the little boy who wanted to belong. Like him, I wanted to forget that we made mistakes and caused so much pain. I need for both of us to remember how he taught me how to ride a bike and how to swim and told me, better late than never, that he loved me and was proud of all I had done. I don't have to help him settle into his favorite chair and let him know that I forgive him. There's a place somewhere where he will call me hijo, and I will know him as my dad. This next poem is Hunger is a Weapon by Federico Erebia, and this is an excerpt from his great book, Pedro and Daniel. Hunger is a weapon. The physical and emotional sickness of hunger is unfathomable to the fortunate. I was not so fortunate. Cafeteria Christians at their biblical buffet would deny children meals in schools. Others would use hunger to bend another to their will. Hunger is a weapon. The hunger for love is human. The hunger for acceptance is human. The hunger for community is human. The hunger for meaning is human. The hunger for power is human. Hunger is a weapon. Hunger for knowledge is formidable against other weapons. It was my ticket out of town. Knowledge is mine, hidden, where no one else can see it, where no one can find it, where no one can take it, where I can wield it. Good. This poem is Fragments by Laura Zucca-Scott, and she is a bilingual writer and educator, and she writes in Italian. Yeah. English and Italian. I don't have her Italian poem in here, though. I just have her English one. Come on, Laura, send the Italian one. I am listening to the fragments of your stories. Once they were fluid and brought me back to a world I had never known, to my grandfather's story I had longed to hear for a long time. When you finally decided I was ready, or maybe you were, you started telling me all I needed to know to be myself. I saw a remote village wounded by war. I smelled the acrid smoke of destruction and fear. I heard people crying in desperation. I tried to wipe tears away from a child's face. I felt the sunshine on the beach and the sea healing the pain with the hopes and freedom of youth. But now the fragments will pull apart, and I'm trying to bring the images back together. I am mourning for the losses yet to come. I am hoping for a future we can still build. I have a few more here. This one is Reality Bites by Rachel Toalson, and she is the author of several novels, The Color of Rain, The Woods, The First Magnificent Summer, the Something Maybe Magnificent that's coming out in 2024, so it's coming out soon. This is Reality Bites. We used to play it on the cement slab, 4 squares marked out, grass growing between the lines. We tried not to pay attention to the world around us. We were girls, just trying to have fun. But that's where Jessie R. pumped the air and whistled at us, and it's where Mario C. told Adona she had nice knockers, and it's where Brandon H. cut in and said, I got something you can play with if you're getting bored with Foursquare. We chased them off, but they always came back leering. I was 8 years old when I learned I was not a girl just trying to have fun. I would never be a girl just trying to have fun. I was a body on display for the fun of the world. Yeah, again, how do we learn to be who we are? What are the experiences that shape us? A sweet smell memory of school from Stacey Joy. 7 years old, chalk in my right hand, a key ring full of stinky old keys in my other hand, whistle on yarn ready for blowing. My miniature chalkboard propped against my headboard, leaving sufficient sitting space for my dolls to learn in rows. Encyclopedia M open to the page on mammals, that week's spelling list in perfect manuscript on chart paper, addition equations on flashcards and pungent blue marker, all prepped and ready for class to begin. Some days I dressed up in mommy's orange blazer with the paisley scarf around my neck, red lipstick and pink nail polish. Good morning, class. My name is Miss Johnson. 15 years later, I wore my first day of school clothes, had 2 classroom keys that smelled like power, and a new box of colored chalk, releasing the aroma of possibility. So those formative experiences that shape us into who we become. Beautiful. Okay, we have another poem from Darius Phelps. Remember I said he uses the white space in his poetry, like left and right. That's another thing that Christine Hartman Derr did. So like if you're using this section as like a classroom collection, a text set for a unit, you could compare how they use the white space differently and how the white space contributes to the meaning. What you're getting the verbal, the oral, like I'm reading it to you, but when you can see it on the page, there's a different kind of analysis that happens, which is really lovely and something kind of unique to poetry form and studying poetry. Okay. Psalms of my broken heart. I open the windows to the psalms of my broken heart, knowing that my grief-embedded words won't resonate with many. But there's something about the sweet release of my bated breath, fogging up my view of what lies ahead, and the lingering summer rain trickles down, reminding me that pain, this pain, is only temporary, crying out from the psalms of my broken heart. He stares at me in amazement, wondering how these scars have molded me into this man that reaches out with the outstretched hand. I have found myself buried in these trauma-bond trenches. I now know that this grief garden is where I belong. This is where the rebirth starts. So there's like an echo from the other poem that we read from him, which is important to see these side by side, this growth, right? And our last poem from Rachel Toalson, and this one uses some interesting slashes in the construction of the lines. And so like, and again, the white space and the punctuation is another way of interpreting and doing some deep reading into these different poems. Let Me Tell You the Truth by Rachel Toalson. People call me brave. I'm not brave. I am burning. The fire has nowhere to go but up, the blaze of my being incinerated to produce an offering of truth. People call me admirable. I am not admirable. I'm unable to stay silent in the face of injustice, a character flaw at times, a strength at others. People call me prolific. I am not prolific. My body is not strong enough to hold all the words inside. They gallop out into the world instead. People call me noble. I am not noble. I merely believe we are all human, all connected, all on the equal plane of worth, significance, potential. People call me wise. I'm not wise. I only know what it is to lie at the bottom of the world and wonder if I'll ever get back up. And so I try to remember how to fly. Ideas spark when I read these and I'm looking at this poem, like this repetition of people call me brave, I am not brave. People call me admirable, I am not admirable. Like this would be a great poem for students to write and just like trading out the word, brave or admirable, prolific, noble, like the things that people call us, and then for us to say if we are that or we are not that, and why this is a great poetry form here, right? So that's just the first group of poems in the Just Being section of Just YA. And there's essays and fiction that we'll get to next. And there's 4 other sections with poetry that are related to different themes. So I'm going to try to make a video on all those so you can have these and you can listen to them and enjoy them. And again, all of this is free for you to download at ethicalela.com/store at Open OK State, and then also for purchase anywhere books are sold. So until next time, gosh, I can't wait to read more. Bye.